All right, everybody. Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, however you're listening. Hopefully, you're doing well. And hopefully, tomorrow you enjoy Thanksgiving with all your families, friends, loved ones, everybody that you could possibly want to be around. Hopefully, you enjoy it. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit in today's stream. Don't do many of these nightly weekday podcasts anymore because I found that spending time with my family is very, very important. But when a friend reaches out to you and says that he wants to have a conversation, I can't ever turn this guy down because he's a very, very dear friend of mine. But before we get into that, make sure you go to all the links below where you can find my guest, everything he's got going on, ways to support him. And of course, all the links below for myself, everything I've got going on. Put out a Substack today about listening to bands that you hate. So make sure you go check out the Great Megalodon. Go to tigerfitness.com/Kyle or Kyle M. I apologize, to let them know that I sent you. They're going to have a big Black Friday sale, so you get lots of deals on all that stuff. And of course, Fox & Sons Coffee, use code Kyle at checkout. And today's show is going to be about, can things change and what's kind of going on in the broader right sphere, which doesn't seem to be so clearly defined. But I think we're going to talk about that. And of course, all the other shenanigans going on. I do have a clip pulled up that I wanted to get our dear friend's reaction on. So without further ado, let's get into today's show. And welcoming back to the show, my dear friend, RedHawk.
Yeah, good to be back, man. You know what you need to get? You need to get like one of those amazing ads they do. It's like the Great Megalodon, supplements that make your skin thick as a shark's.
When I was, I'm probably going to start a second channel just to do stuff for the Great Megalodon, which is going to be all like music stuff. I already have like this all sketched out in my head, and you'll just need to entertain me for 1 second. I'll have to pass the floor to you because this idea is so nuts. But like kind of like a 90s cartoon style, like Cartoon Network style shark, kind of like breaching for the sky and fire and explosions and stuff, and then just have it like go into the logo that says the Great Megalodon. I'm like, oh, dude, this is so perfect. And for people my age, they'll be like, oh, dude, that reminds me of everything I saw as a kid, and that's awesome. So like that's kind of like where my mind is with it.
That would be great. That would be amazing. Yeah, you should totally do that for sure.
Yeah. It's on my plate. So
yeah, man, the ever expanding to-do list that everyone has, right?
Yeah. I remember when I bought my house, the home inspector said, "You have this honey-do list." And I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" And then now I kind of like, now that almost 10 years later, I'm like, "Oh, this is what he's talking about." Yeah, that needs fixed. That needs fixed. I got to do that. I'll write this down. Notes here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Knocking it down one thing at a time, right? I mean, just be happy. You're one of the few 30 years olds that's married with a kid and a house. Wow, you're like the last guy who got the chopper out of Nam. Like good for you, man.
Yeah, man. Well, you know what? I try to keep my head up and be positive about these things. And I know you do too, and you have a lot of people around you that I know at least give you a positive perspective, because I think at least people in our circles or people who give a shit, but man, for people younger than you and I'm just like, I'm praying for you guys. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do. Can't afford a house. Dating market's kind of fucked up, but like, you can navigate that at least. But job market's rough. Assets of everything are way up, but the wages aren't. So, and like, I used to think like I felt like a leftist talking about this shit, but I just look at it, I'm like, oh no, like there's just like no hope for future generations if they're not willing to just completely bust their ass. So, man, we're starting off on a dark note.
No, I mean, it's a good point though that you bring up, because I mean, there's been people like talk about the Overton window, which is in the they kind of refer to the broader discussion of whatever we call like the culture war, right? But there actually is an Overton window that has been set for us by establishment conservatives. I mean, which is definitely the people we're going to have in the crosshairs on the show today. But and one of these things always is like, oh well, any discussion of economics that doesn't somehow relate back to we should just lower taxes, and of course that benefits like corpos and rich people the most. Which is like, again, like I got no problem with like lowering taxes. I mean, who the fuck likes paying more taxes? But
Yeah.
the fact that that's the only economic discussion we're allowed to have, because anything outside of that is like, oh, well, you're against the free market. You sound like a communist. You sound like a leftist. It's like, what are you even talking about? Like, none of us living in the United States today under the age of 40 have ever even seen a free market in our entire lifetime. So what, it's like the same argument you get with like libertarians, right? It's like, oh, well, the free market says this. It's like, dude, where is this free market that you're talking about? It's like that meme, like the Japanese guy like looks at the butterfly, right? It's like, is this the free market? No.
Yeah, dude, my irritation with libertarians has grown so much, and people who listen,
worst, aren't they?
Yeah, especially kind of like the outside looking in, I realize, like, man, how awful was I to talk to, 5-6 years ago? But if listeners would have listened to the last show I just did with Jeff Dice, he said off air,
he's great, isn't he?
I love Jeff. Yeah, Jeff's awesome.
Yeah, really good dude.
He said my specialty is skewering libertarians, and I'm like, good, we need that. And, because he knows all the stuff. But we were kind of talking about how when I see people that are celebrating like drugs, like drug legalization, there was someone that's arguing with me, and he's a decent enough guy, but he's like, oh, the smell of weed is the smell of freedom. And like, oh, if the smell of weed bothers you, then you should just get over it. And I'm sitting here like, oh my God. When I walk down a major city with my wife and daughter, I don't want to see people, and they're usually not white people, walking around in sweatpants that just reek of marijuana and joblessness. Like, I don't want that in major cities. And honestly, I'm all right if you say, hey, it's illegal to smoke weed in public in a city. Like, I don't think that's some egregious violation of liberty. I think it's a greater violation of people's liberty and freedom to have a public that, where you see homeless people just completely conked out, or people that smell like weed everywhere. Like, to me, that's way more offensive and way less conductive to an orderly society that you would want to live in than just having potheads everywhere. Like,
this is the problem. The problem with libertarianism is the same problem with liberalism. They both like their central axiom is to have this like word that we call freedom, right? And what these people refer to as freedom is freedom from attachment of a certain thing, or freedom of an expectation of a certain thing. And so it's inherently a individual. It's like individualistic in principle, which means that you break down all social bonds that you have with other groups around you. It's like, sorry, that's like society is made by relationships that groups have with one another. And it's all woven together in a very delicate balance. And this is why we have high trust things. But it's like, okay, so like for the libertarian, everyone could just be free to basically do whatever they want. And it's like, well, if I can't stop you from, being naked, having sex and smoking weed in the middle of like the store or something, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe that's an infringement on your freedom, right? But I don't fucking care because I like to live in like a nice place. I want to live in like a nice country or something. It's like, well, you can't say that, that someone can't do something. You think you're better than them? Like, yeah, I do fucking think I'm better than you.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Real quick, thank you, Abrogate D's, for the super chat. Happy Thanksgiving, gentlemen. Happy Thanksgiving to you, man. And thank you for being a channel member. The vapes are a thing, and people should have the respect to at least use them when in public. They really don't smell. And I'm honestly kind of okay with that. Could that be debated? Sure. But like, I don't know, just when you smell that shit everywhere, like, I don't know how people don't just smell that and be like, man, can you just like not? Like, I don't think it's that egregious of an ask. Like, when people bring a car into the place that I work at and it smells like weed, I'm like, could you guys not just like, I would be embarrassed if I brought my car into a dealership and it just smelled like shit, weed or whatever. Like, have a little bit of respect.
Yeah, there's no like sense of high trust or social shame or anything. It's like when people used to go to did you see this with the secretary, whoever the transportation guy is yesterday? I think it's Duffy. Is that what that is? Well, it doesn't matter. But just saying for the Thanksgiving holiday season, people should dress nicely when they're on the planes and not be in like sweatpants and stuff. And people just chimped out over it. It's like, did you see like the pictures of people? They used to like fly in suits and ties and everything, or people in like Victorian England or industrial England would show up to work literally in like suits and ties. So they're just working in a coal factory. It's like, I mean, listen, I'm not the biggest like suit and tie guy fan. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, just having a social presentation of people just acknowledging that hey, you know, everyone should be like kind of looking good, and you kind of owe it to everybody else to uphold the standards of your civilization, your community, and not just be a great big fat Shaniqua with your ass hanging out, you know, when you're walking around everywhere you go. It's like, oh yeah, great, thanks. I really wanted to, but day ruined now. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Jeff and I were talking about this in the last episode as well. He mentioned a article that somebody wrote. He was complaining about people wearing jeans in public and just got like lambasted. But it was kind of in responding to a point that I'd made about people that just, like you said, wear sweatpants everywhere and just look like bums. Like, I never leave the house in sweatpants. Like, if I went to the gym at one point, now I have a home gym, so obviously I like never leave the house in sweatpants because I don't know, I just feel like a bum. Like, you can't be bothered to dress up and look presentable. Like, right now I'm wearing a plain t-shirt, jeans. That's perfectly acceptable to go out into public. But the people who go out, like when you go to Walmart and you see people in pajama pants, I'm disgusted. Like, you look like a fucking bum. Do you not have enough dignity to just be like, you know what, I'm going to look like a presentable person out in public? And like, this all comes back to kind of the drug stuff too, because we had a guy that applied at my job that said, oh yeah, I can't pass a drug test. Like, how fucked are your priorities if you won't stop smoking weed for 2 weeks? 2 weeks to clean it out of your system, to pass a drug test and get a job. And you'll never be tested unless you wreck a fucking car. Like, you aren't willing to do that? What the fuck is wrong with you?
No. Well, it also just shows like kind of people feel this is like ties in very much like the economic situation as well.
Yes.
You know, like with this thing that people call like economic nihilism, right? Because like the Zoomers and, you know, a lot of millennials and stuff who really don't have much of a hope of getting into the housing market or starting families or, you know, getting out of like the mountains of debt that they have for useless degrees or, you know, other forms of usury that, you know, our society subjects people to. It's kind of like the same thing with not presenting yourself in public, because like people just don't feel to have an attachment to their civilization at all. They don't really feel that the government is looking out for them in any way, that the elites in power are looking out for them in any way, that even people in their own families are really looking out for them in any way. Same thing like with the religious institutions. It's just a complete societal breakdown of everything. And I think this is another big reason why a lot of people just attached to these abstract ideas of, you know, politics or ideology or, you know, pick XYZ, like fake fiction fandom or something like that. You know, people just have to find meaning in something, and they really aren't getting it anywhere else except in this digital realm, I guess. It's a sign of deep societal decay that like almost everybody knows something about. Knows something in like quotes, right? I mean, they know something that like an algorithm or the TV fed them about politics, but like in most normal times, it's like most people really wouldn't fucking care. You know, people would have other things to occupy their time with.
Yeah, and I was listening to, who was it? Oh yeah, it was a Fuentes interview, but he had mentioned how back in the 90s, people really didn't pay that much attention to politics. Now, you know, I would have been 6 years old by the time the 90s were like over. So it's a little bit beyond the scope of like my understanding, but I think it's just because we have a government that controls so many aspects of our lives. And like you said, institutions that are now so broken down that you don't feel like you have this trust anywhere else. So of course, the first thing you want to do is go to a collective, and that collective typically tends to be like a political party or some kind of group that is political in nature. And I don't think that's good, because I don't know, man, like politics just makes people so fucking dumb. Like, and it's not enjoyable to have that be your life all the time. Like, you see this in people who just live in these group chats on Twitter and stuff. And like, hey, all of us are in group chats and bullshit, but I see the people who just constantly answer all the time and have nothing else going on. I'm like, that's not a good life, dude. That is not a good life.
Yeah, very true. It's like everybody's plotting in their chats, like this guy isn't trusting the plan. This guy is a panikin. This guy is a betrayer. This guy is, you know, whatchamacallit. It's just, it's also tiresome, man. I mean, I guess like kind of to reel things back a little bit into the like the current thing right now in the real. It's like, dude, I mean, I've really started feeling this way significantly after the Charlie Kirk thing, and definitely into the few weeks when I took some R&R. You know, back in October, I was gone for like 3 weeks. I was out of the country.
We both did, yeah.
Yeah, and like when I just came back, I was like, dude, I'm just done watching like the everyday nonsense of what's going on with the administration. All right. Like we can all say with just 100% certainty at this point that the Charlie Kirk thing in the aftermath was just a huge, huge loss for the right, and just a complete win for the left in every single way. I mean, the right lost one of its best activists, especially for the youth, a personal friend of Donald Trump, and from all accounts, basically at this point, one of the few voices that Trump actually listened to that had the ear of the young people in the movement. And, so the results speak for itself over the last like 2 months and change. And, they also didn't punish literally anybody. And once again, which it should be a surprise to nobody at this point, I saw everybody on Twitter like raging about like, Alyssa Slotkin and, Mark Kelly and all these other Democrats who were just on the news last night talking about how, the National Guard people are Gestapo agents or something. And then look what happens today. 2 of them get shot in the head right in Washington, D.C. on Donald Trump's doorstep, and they die. It's like, okay, you're like surprised at this point. I mean, it's like, we just saw thousands upon thousands of leftists just openly, celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, and you think that somehow they were going to change because 2 National Guards people got shot. I mean, it's only going to get worse. The Trump administration is refusing to push the 2 fix everything switches, which number one is just mass deportations of millions of people. They refuse to do it in the numbers that we want. And the second one is just defy these court judges. The judicial coup and judicial activism in the United States is so out of control. We need to break this Gordian knot. Somebody has to do it. And if it won't be Trump, then we'll find somebody who will. But these 2 fix everything switches are right there on the doorstep, fix literally all of our problems, and they refuse to do it. So it's like, okay, why am I going to get super involved in this then? I have to point my very finite energy into other places.
Yeah, and it's not like those 2 buttons aren't popular either. Like, people are kind of waiting
that's
for
the
this.
thing that's so fucking frustrating about it too, man. Is if they just did it, the only people that would bitch and moan are the donor class, like boomers, who would see their 401ks and their retirement funds and their stock markets dip a little bit, but everybody else would go hail Trump, basically.
Well, yeah, and you know what? This kind of goes back to an earlier conversation we were having about you mentioned economic nihilism and also kind of like the younger generations. Those people, stocks and everything are going to crash because they have mad assets. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot. It's just like these older people just have assets that continue to get inflated and inflated and inflated. And then younger people who want to get at those assets, not like to take them away from those people, but to like buy a house, get into the stock market, or do something like that, you should have no chance because all the shit's so inflated. And if you're an old boomer right now, times are good because cheap labor and all this and that. But eventually, the economic good times have to come for younger people, or else like people are going to start leaving the country. And are you even going to want to save this country if we're not doing everything we can to help younger generations prosper? Like, I think it's kind of the center of a nation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too, and I'm seeing quite a bit of an uptick of this. I mean, you used to kind of see this language coming from, just your more like Occupy Wall Street and radical lefties, like in your Mamdani types. But I'm seeing a lot of this rhetoric even coming out from a lot more right-wing Zoomers at this point, where they're just like, boomers, fucking help us, or we're taking away your Social Security. And I'm like, dude, I really can't argue with it at this point. It's really, really going to be hard to do that, as things get worse and worse. And we just realize that all of the octogenarian boomers that are still in Congress for like 200 years. This is like what was so funny about that No Kings protest, by the way. It's like, dude, like the average life of like an English monarch is like 15 years, like when they were rulers, and there's like Democrats and Republicans in Congress that have been there for over 50. It's like, what the fuck do you mean no kings? There's people that serve there longer than most kings and queens have. So what is this nonsense? But you're just looking at the situation and seeing that there's nobody who has the interests of the youth in mind. And more boomers are going to die off, and there's no like millennials or Gen Z or anybody in positions of power to actually give these people what they want. And, the Democrats are evil and stuff, but, they're actually a legitimate political party and actually, know how to exercise power, unlike Republicans. And you see this right now. I mean, like, yeah, Elizabeth Warren is really evil, but she's talking right now about the higher costs of housing, the higher costs of, education prices in university and stuff. And it's like, yeah, they're not going to have any solutions for it, and they're all going to make it worse. But at least the Democrats are smart enough to at least be signaling this way. Or you got this Amy Acton person who's about to take a nice big steaming shit all over Vivek's shoes, or lack of shoes. He wears bare feet. So in the polls over there in Ohio, and a plus 11 Republican state, he's going to fucking lose it because the GOP is just addicted to running non-white candidates for some fucking reason. And she's flanking him to the right on the tweets that we were yelling about against him last year during the great Christmas H-1B war that happened last year. And she's quote tweeting those exact same tweets from almost a year ago, saying Vivek thinks Americans are stupid and wants them to, not go to spend more time going to school instead of playing sports. It's like we need somebody who actually thinks Ohioans are smart and are capable of working and doesn't degrade them. It's like she's right.
Yeah, it's so crazy to see the Trump administration and the lackeys kind of just letting every single situation get away from them. Like there's so many just easy wins that are right on the table, but they just blow right past them every single time. And I like the whole Epstein thing. Like I'm uninterested in that general conversation anymore, just because everybody's using it as a bludgeon, and I don't even like care about it anymore, just because it's like useless at this point. But
the thing is about it is like, okay, did you think that people would be punished even if they like published the entire unredacted list? Right. Like, what do you think would happen? I don't think anything would. Literally nothing. So it's like, okay, we got a bunch of names of people that were on the list that we already knew were on the list, and our elites are doing fucked up, horrible things and are, having sex with like 17-year-old and 16-year-old girls in openly exploitative manners. And this is attached to various intelligence agencies all across the Western world, plus Israel. It's like, okay, like, who cares really? It's like nothing's going to happen as a result of this, so whatever. Can we go and actually do something productive now?
Right. It's just like the general conversation though around it has just been so tiresome, and Trump's handling of it. It's like, why did you didn't have to butcher this the way you did.
Yeah,
and true. The same deal with Vivek. You didn't have to butcher this shit as bad as you did. Like this whole H-1B conversation with the Republicans. I'm like, you got elected on mass deportations. Like, why are you saying we need H-1Bs right now when people are like, hey, we don't recognize the country we live in anymore. So why are we talking about bringing more people in? And then that interview with Laura Ingraham where Trump said, the universities will go out of business. And like Laura Ingraham's pretty much a boomer. And she said, so? Like, she gets it. Who cares if these universities go? Nobody cares.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this I'm impressed. Good for you. Like Fox News, perhaps I misjudged you. But it was amazing. It's basically like come down to the point where it's like, okay, we have one party that's going to replace you with illegal immigration, and we have the other party that's going to replace you with legal immigration. Right. It's just like, oh, great. Is there an option where we aren't replaced with immigrants of any kind? Oh, no, can't have that. Well, there was this fantastic interview that I think everybody should watch because it really just sums up the situation perfectly of what has to happen over the next 3 years with a coalition that needs to be here after Trump is gone. It was Nick Land went on Benjamin Boyce's channel, which was like a week or two ago, and basically he went through Spandrel, the old neo-reaction poster, Spandrel's trichotomy. He basically goes through the three old heads basically of the original, like alt-right and online right and dissident right, pick your name, right? And basically he lists off the three groups being like, your ethno-nationalists, your Christian nationalists, and the tech right people, basically. And essentially what we have at this point is that two parts of this three have basically come together at this point. The Christian nationalists and the ethno-nationalists have pretty much have an understanding of each other. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. America is more or less and the whole West in general is a Christian country. We can argue about denominations. We'll let the Christian nationalists argue that out themselves. And we all basically agree that the West was founded on, white people. We can argue of who is white. We can point to Benjamin Franklin's list. We can point to whoever's list is. We can have exceptions for people who've been here X amount of time or something, and some of our strongest soldiers aren't like, pure bred heritage Americans, white guys. It's like, okay, fine, we can make an exception for you, right? So these two people have more or less like reached an understanding. But now we come to the third group, which is the tech, right? And these people are the newest comers to the coalition, number one. And number two, they're the ones who are least interested in the arguments of the other two. And this is a huge problem because every time you basically have a conversation with these people, they come in with like their big swinging dicks that are basically hoisted up by fake government money and low interest rates, right? So it's like,
right.
Okay, yeah, great. So you got a bunch of money on paper, but does that actually make you like some grand old businessman like Carnegie or Rockefeller or something? Like, I have my doubts, but I digress, right? But you just see this every time with like this faction of people, whether it's your Viveks or your Elons or whatever, and they just show up and they just argue about literally everything, and they're not willing to cede ground on any issue. I mean, we had Elon Musk. This is an amazing exchange. It was just like last week or something where Elon went on like a whole day long just attacking one of these like Roman history accounts because the Roman history guy was like, actually, no, you know something wrong about Roman history. Rome actually didn't collapse because of demographic collapse. It actually collapsed because the majority of the Western Roman Empire's army was comprised by Gauls, which were foreigners, and they just let the Goths come in and sack Rome. It wasn't because of population collapse per se. It was just the fact that the Roman army got replaced. It got ethnically replaced, and Elon just went on this like whole day long like diatribe about how this guy is wrong or something. He's like, dude, like, you're a space rocket engineer. You don't have to know everything about ancient Rome, dude. I don't fucking think you do either.
Yeah, nobody cares if you're going to crash out over this shit.
Yeah. It's like, how about you, just sit one out a little bit? Like, I get it. You're the richest guy in the world, but you're not like some like, crazy ass, genius who knows fucking everything, right? And that's the problem with these people that come in. It's like, well, you people just don't know that we need H-1B visas and the hundreds of thousands from India. We got to dig them out with excavators from underneath their piles of shit and all of their trash. We got to get them over here. And as soon as we put them in environments where there aren't piles of shit and trash, they're going to make amazing technology like lightsabers and stuff that we're not going to be able to make with Americans if we pay them a little bit more, man. We just need to have infinity Jeets over here. We need to cover every single, blade of grass in the United States with Section 8 housing for Jeets, and they can shit all over it and stuff. And that's how we're going to get all of our amazing technological advancements. It's like, dude, fuck off. Just fuck off with that shit. We all know what this is about. You guys want cheap labor and you don't want to spend more money to pay Americans. That's it. That's all this comes down to. There's no other arguments you could say to the contrary or otherwise. Okay. Now, if you want to come into this coalition, you guys just recently came here because the Democrats are going to pass a tax on unrealized capital gains, which would literally evaporate all of your wealth in an instant. And so you decide to come over to the right, but you don't have any intellectual founding over here. You don't understand the groups that actually made up all of this movement. You guys came in here with money, and yes, money is very important because it's what actually makes the world go around and how we can actually influence our ideas and get projects done, everything like this. So we obviously need money. And unfortunately for the right now, like the two sides for us to get money is either the tech right or Jews. It's like, oh, great. So, and I guess
basically Jews or Jews.
Yeah. And it's like, I guess you could kind of pick a third one, but that's rapidly going away. And that's like all this like boomer money, but that's all trapped up in establishment conservatism, which is controlled by Jews anyway. So, I mean, that's a whole nother thing, but so we have to somehow have a detente with these like tech right people if they're going to be part of this coalition, and that's really just going to have to come from them. It's like, listen, dude, okay, maybe we can make an exception for a couple like really strong and really amazing candidates and stuff, but you cannot tell me with a straight face that you need an H-1B visa guy to come over to teach pickleball to the Google execs because they need to have like some break or something. It's like, you don't need a H-1B visa chef to work at the Google offices. Okay. All these visa applications, they're all publicly known. People can Google them. People can look it up. It's all fake and it's all bullshit. Okay. You guys need to have some understanding that you are here to be part of the Americans First movement, okay? Not America First, Americans First. Americans, they are a people. They are a race. They are a history. So that's anyway. People should go listen to Nick Land and Benjamin Boyce. It was a very good breakdown of these three sides, basically, of this coalition. And I guess this is where we can kind of shift this conversation a little bit into what is basically breaking down right now the conservative civil war, right, between like the two sides, because it's basically everybody who is opposed to this conglomeration of 3 like different groups, and everyone who's not. At this point, it's just like new right versus old right is really what it is.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody quite lay it out as clearly as that. And Benjamin's a phenomenal interviewer. I really, really like his show and the debates he hosts. I think he's very, very good at what he does. It is interesting because, like you said, the 2 old factions of the right that you had mentioned, there's no real big money there, but there is with the tech right. But like you said, they want to kind of sit here and butt heads with one another because the tech right, like you said, they want to argue about everything, and they don't understand like what time it is in our civilization, and we kind of need them to just be like, hey, you guys need to shut the fuck up and just give us the money to get things done. And you guys, your wants and desires are going to have to be secondary, because right now we need to focus on Americans, right? Because Americans are going to be the ones who get us out of this mess and who save America. So we don't want to hear about H-1Bs. Give us your money. We'll figure it out. And then, once all the dust is settled, then we can talk about what you need, what you want. But right now we need to figure out how, like, we keep America going, because right now that doesn't seem to be a conversation.
The thing is like, okay, guys, there are only 2 parties in the United States. Okay, Elon hilariously tried to detach himself from Donald Trump and have a big chimp out and decide to go found, what do you call it, like the Elon Party, the Democracy Party, the Truth Party, some retarded name that was never going to get anywhere. Funny enough, he went and had a conversation with Curtis Yarvin, and like 2 weeks later immediately dropped this idea because he realized how fucking retarded it is. So it's like, okay, in the United States, you have 2 parties. And you could choose to go side with the Democrats, who are basically all and out open communists at this point and are looking to take away all of your money. Or you could side with us, who I'm not particularly interested in like stealing a bunch of your wealth. I don't have anything against billionaires like as such, like as a concept. But I do have an issue with the billionaires that we currently have, in which like they are a far cry from the characters like, Carnegie, who was the founder of like the American National History Museums. Like you see it in Pittsburgh. You can go right down there to the Carnegie Museum of Natural History. He founded paleontology, basically. The first Tyrannosaurus Rex ever found is in that museum. And that guy was basically an owner of that entire city, and he put some money into the arts, into the sciences. He gave back to his community. JP Morgan bailed out the Bank of the United States with his own money. So I mean, these were people who actually had an attachment to their country and to their nation and to their people, in addition to being having ungodly amounts of wealth. Okay, and this is the problem. I mean, this is kind of like a big problem with Elon Musk. It's like he's kind of like the perfect archetype of the globalist man. The guy doesn't even own a home. So it's like he just doesn't even have an attachment basically to anywhere. He's got God knows how many kids through how many different baby mamas. So it's like it really is just like the perfect embodiment of like Nietzsche's Last Man, basically. He's like a man from nowhere, but somehow is like the richest man in the history of anything, right? So it's like, okay, realize that there's only 2 games in town here. One of them is 100% going to steal all of your money, and the other one just wants their country to belong to them, and we're fine with you making your money. And so, if you want to be part of this thing and of our coalition, there are just certain things we are not going to buckle on. And this coalition knows that Americans have been sold out for the last 60 years to the expense of the entire rest of the planet. And we're fucking done with it. Well, so if you want to be part of this team, you got to give us some concessions, and we can come to an agreement here. Like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can understand if you guys want some like tax breaks for your tech stuff. I don't really particularly think this AI stuff is going to be as big a deal as everybody says it is. It seems like a big bubble to me and a bunch of nonsense to me. And it seems to me that at least in the West, at least, maybe some of the lesser races and lesser people and stuff will, be more sucked into this kind of stuff and become like total bug men. But it seems over here, I mean, like, Mark Zuckerberg is trying to make this metaverse thing work for years now, and it's just lost money every quarter because, I just don't think our people are into this kind of stuff. Maybe it'll work in other places, but it just doesn't seem to be part of our biospirit, So if you guys want to be part of this thing, that's great and that's fine, but you actually need to start engaging in a client patronage network and coming to some understanding of the other positions of the people within your network. You guys are all atheists. Well, you guys got to make the understanding that America is a Christian country and should serve Christian interests, and we don't need to import a billion Hindus and a billion Muslims and all this shit. and America should remain majority white, because that is the establishment of the country. It's the founding stock of the country. This country was made for them, and if you guys aren't going to agree on those issues, then you guys are just going to find yourselves homeless. And if the Republican base is just not going to vote for you, and that means the Democrats are going to be in charge and they're going to take your shit anyway. So you have to compromise. You have to.
Right, exactly. Nuclear Cadillo. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys and your families. Nuke, thank you so much for the $20. I appreciate it, brother. Any words for Nuke? Man.
No, just a happy Thanksgiving to him, and wherever he goes this weekend. So
yeah, for sure. It's so bizarre to me that, like I said, there's so many wins just readily available, and that just we said hello. I was right on something right before towards the end there, but it's just, it seems like there's no idea of like how dire the situation is amongst like the political class right now, which is just so infuriating. That's right. When it comes to like atheism and stuff like that, like I consider myself like an agnostic theist, but like I understand that in the hierarchy of just the general West and specifically the United States, like I'm going to have to submit to Christian rulers and Christian ideals, because that's what built the civilization and that's what made this country so great. Like there's no debate about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, also it's like just what kind of person does that make you, if you're just going to make it like your goal in life just to subvert the institution? It's like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to tear down this thing that has been the major social fabric of my civilization dating back thousands of years at this point. It's like, who am I? It's like the highest level of hubris, right? To think that, oh, I'm just going to spend all of my wealth and my time to undercut this thing that clearly. This is like one of the things I have a huge issue with is like when people talk about, the mass migration thing. It's like, well, it was just a roll of the dice. It's just lucky you were born in the West. And what if you were born somewhere else? It's like, no, there is no what if I was born somewhere else. Okay. I'm a product of my ancestors. I'm a product of a great chain of being leading back throughout the generations. There are individual choices made by people in my family and in my line that led me to one place. It's not just a genetic roll of the dice. And that's how I ended up in this place. Like we're playing D&D or something, like it's just not how this works. We're not all just individuals that just only come into being, as soon as we come out of the womb, right? And it's just totally out of nothingness. It's like, no, you have connections, you have a history, and it's actually like a responsibility of you to carry that forward. And it's just like, this is also how people before us just thought in their everyday. Like we were taught things like Homer and Aristotle and Plato, because these are like the foundations of our civilization, and we held these people up to be the ideals. We held these up to be the greatest that we can offer. We taught things like the Bible and all of this because it was worth it to us. It was worth it to carry into the future. And now it's just like this weird individualist soup that everyone has, and it's just the results speak for themselves, right? It's like, and this is the problem too, right? Because there's no politician on either side of the issue that even talks about these, like the actual issue that our civilization is facing, even remotely like this. Everyone's just talking about everything that's like in the real, and like everything's like goes down to economics or some number, the next like the next tax cycle or the next fiscal year or the next like school year or the next thing of test scores or the next like immigration number or something like that. But it's like, actually what we're dealing with is something even way, way deeper than that.
Yeah, completely. And I think a lot of people are kind of looking for that again, because as we've kind of covered all throughout the show, is just like institutions have completely crumbled, and a lot of people don't really have like that sense of community anymore. And like, yeah, you can somewhat get this online, but I know from personal experience, now having my own family and being very, very well connected with all my family now, when I see other people that don't have the same thing, I realize like it's just very indicative of kind of where our society is. And really, it's like only white people are the only ones that are allowed to not advocate for their own group. When really, once again, this is the group who basically built this country.
How
And
anti-Semitic of you, Kyle.
yeah, exactly. But every other group gets to say, hey, no, we have our own group interests. But, if me and, my older brother say, hey, we want to advocate on behalf of, Polish Americans Americans who have been here for now 5 generations, 6 generations now with my daughter. Um, People would look at me like I got like 6 heads, but like, no, like, I'm sorry, my family's been here for a long time. And, there are people who've met me and said, hey, we remember your grandfather, your great grandfather, and it's really cool to see you grow up now. Like, I'm sorry if I believe that like this country should be preserved for people who have lineage and actually have something, have grounding in this country. Like, that matters.
Absolutely. And the thing that's so crazy is that we have both of the two ruling parties in this country are entirely ruled by the same idea and the same moral framework that thinks that everything you just said right there can be replaced with a multiple choice test.
Yes.
It's just, oh yeah, come here, come to America, and fill out this quiz and recite the Star Spangled Banner, and you're just as American as everybody else, man. If you're a Nicaraguan woman who waltzes over the southern border and squats a baby in a hospital in the next 5 minutes, hey, you're just as American as James Madison.
Mhm.
It's just such a joke, man. It's such an unbelievable farce. And to be honest, it's the same thing that a lot of the establishment conservatives and the old right think as well, just in like a different way. It's like Joel Berry thinks that we're somehow going to have this amazing like Christian resurgence in the United States. It's like, dude, like the church is the weakest it's ever been in the entire history of the entire church, basically. Like I hate this. I really, really do despise how like the order of loves that we're constantly taught by people like Aquinas and stuff. Like, oh, you have to reach out to your kin first, your family, your country, your community and stuff, and then we go out further than that. And it's just completely inverted to this point where there's alleged, hardcore Christians, but Christian nationalist is a Christian heresy for some reason, according to these people, right? But all like the really hardcore like evangelicals, are totally fine with Islamic caliphates being formed in Texas and Dearborn, Michigan, but we need to address the Christians that are currently going on in Nigeria, who it's like, okay, can you even really like call these people Christians? Because like half of their religion is like, Santeria and voodoo and like paganism and stuff thrown with like Christianity in between. But it's like, I'm sorry, but no Nigerian is ever going to build the Sistine Chapel. So it's like there could be like 1 billion Christians in Africa, but if like Christianity is extinct in Europe, then like what's the fucking point? It's just like what is this? Are we just like a hive mind now, and we're just like looking this for like a numbers game? Like we're bug people. This is just so weird to me. But this is just like the prevailing thing of the day. It's just longhoused all the way to the core. We can't have these kinds of discussions in any way. It's the Christianity of these people is always limited somehow to the left-wing frame of it, which is be nice to everybody, and right-wingers can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I want to talk to you a little bit about the Joel Berry and Orrin McIntyre debate, as we would call it, where Orrin probably spoke a total of maybe 10-15 minutes, and the rest of it was mildly shit-lib Tim versus shit-lib Joel, even though they both kind of masquerade as like mid right wingers. It's just embarrassing that like Joel does kind of portray this very, very liberal mind, even though if he would never call himself a liberal, at least I don't think he would. But like when you bring up differences of races and how like, no, actually it does matter who's an American, it just doesn't seem to click in his mind. And that like, okay, well now, unfortunately, we're beyond the point of just saying, yeah, you know what, we could just kind of love our enemies and we just need to vote in the right person. Like, no, I'm sorry, we're beyond the point of we can just have libertarianism tomorrow. It's some people's feelings got to get hurt. Some people got to get put in jail. A lot of people got to get deported out of the country. There's got to be some pretty ugly shit that's got to happen in order to get back to somewhat of an orderly society. It's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but it's what has to be done if you want to have a good future for your children. And if you don't do that, then what comes is going to be way worse than what we can have now.
Mm-hmm. I, the one thing that I want like Joel Berry to kind of like answer the question of is like he poses himself as some like extreme return to Christianity for the United States kind of deal, but also everything he advocates for is nothing about how any like Christian civilization ever in the history of the planet like behaved. It's like, are you trying to tell me that the Papal States or medieval Europe or even like a Renaissance Italy or anything where they were all like openly Christian monarchies, and some still are today, like places like Monaco or something like that? It's like, are you really trying to tell me that like these places who conducted politics the way that we are discussing are like somehow ahistorical or abnormal or like anti-Christian or something? It's like, how are you going to tell the Papal States, like the Pope, that he's anti-Christian? It's like, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, and like I said, it just seems like they have no idea what needs to happen. I always hear people say this, but I didn't understand it until I kind of heard him lay it out, Joel. That is, that like, oh, we just want to return to the '90s, and it's like that just always
like,
seems
much more
to be
liberal
like,
than that, dude.
Yeah, it always seems like they're just like designed like, oh, we just need to be the conservatives of 1995 to like 2005. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, we were already well on our way here at that point. So what makes you think if we just went back a couple years that things would all of a sudden be magical again?
All these people have like memories of fruit flies and gnats, basically. And you see this like when they talk right now, that they think that like the right is in some extreme level of ascendancy and we won. Now I do agree that the tide is shifting like to the right across the entire Western world. Like, you just look at it, it's in the air. The fight against mass migration and just the fact that we're allowed to have our own civilizations and our own countries and work our own interests is in the air, and victory is inevitable for us. However long that takes, who knows? But you'll hear things from like Joe Barry is like, oh, well, the Democrats just got way too radical and that's why they lost this election. And that's how the right won, thinking that like, because we won one election in 2024, that means like, oh, okay, guys, I guess we can take our ball and go home now. We don't have to do anything anymore. It's like, what planet are you living on, dude? I mean, like, we're barely being able to get like anything done right now. And most of everything we're doing is just going to be undone instantly when the next Democrat comes into power, because none of it is like really long lasting. And this is really what the establishment conservatives and the Democrats are banking on. And to be honest, it kind of looks like they're right. I mean, the midterms next year are going to be absolute fucking bloodbath, dude. It's going to be really, really rough. And that's going to completely hamstring the next like 2 years of the Trump administration. After that, they're basically not going to do anything. But no, the establishment conservatives are just thinking, oh, well, we're just going to be able to go back to 90s conservatism, basically. All we talk about is Bill Buckley, and we're going to have like John McCain and Mitt Romney, and Ted Cruz is going to be our nominee in 2028, and we're just going to put all this ugly Trump business back behind us. And please, progressives, take us back. We'll be happy to be your whipping boy again. Come on, please take us back. We all is forgiven, right? And it's just this idea that these characters have that, oh, it's over now we need to police people on the right and stuff because we've won, and now we got to figure out who we really are. It's like, dude, like we're not even begun to fight, dude. They got people openly shooting people in the streets, and you're arguing about like, oh, well, the worst thing in the world is Tucker Carlson talking to Nick Fuentes. It's like, dude, the left are literally shooting people in the street, and you think like, listen, I've got my problems with Fuentes, much of it warranted, right? But the guy is like, the guy is basically mainstream at this point, and we have to live with that whether we like it or not. And it's like, I'm sorry, but Nick Fuentes has really just said like naughty words and like been mean to other people who he's tried to form coalitions with. But it's like, yeah, Dave Rubin is literally purchasing kids and he's a faggot. So it's like, okay, so is that worse than Nick Fuentes has done? Absolutely. Bill Kristol advocated for a war that devalued the United States currency basically into oblivion, got thousands of his own people killed, and now there are 6 times as many Muslims in the country as there were on September 11th. It's like, why are we listening to these people at all? Like, I mean, you guys are complete failures. You haven't conserved anything. You're just open enemies. So, but it's like, oh, we really got to focus on the denouncing of anti-Semitism on the right. That's really the big thing that we got to focus on, guys. It's just like, where are your priorities at? It's like, we know where their priorities are at. Their priorities are being the whipping boys for the left so they can continue to take their checks and be like the House conservatives, basically. Well, and so they can forward the interests of their own ethnic group and a foreign group of people. But, we're not allowed to talk about that either.
Yeah, it's so bizarre to me. And like the way you laid it out, and even like the way that Tim and Oren tried to lay this out, it made it so obvious. Like Dave Rubin is literally trafficking children. Like, I'm sorry, gay couples should not be able to adopt children. I don't care what the circumstances are, that shit should be illegal because there is no time in history where a man and a man were raising children. It was always a mother and a father. And I don't care what libertarian or who has a problem with it. I'm sorry, a child has a right to a mother and a father because that is absolutely necessary for that child to thrive. And if we're not focused on children and future generations thriving in America, then there's absolutely no reason to even be considered about anything if we're not worried about our next generations. And like you said, we're like fucking worried about fucking Nick Fuentes said some bad stuff. And like you said, I've seen this shit where he constantly backstabs people, but like I'm far less concerned about that when we have a guy who's a big conservative guy who literally is purchasing children. And then James Lindsay, who is just the people who call everybody else woke, right? I hate this fucking term so much, but the people who use it are always the ones that are just like these crazy Zionists that demand you denounce bigotry at every step. It's like, you guys cannot be like, this is so ironic. I just can't fucking believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the other thing back to the, another thing, this is like kind of what I was talking about, like the deeper things with our civilization. It's not just that, you know, the advantages that children face being raised in like a 2-parent household where it's a mother and a father versus a single parent versus a gay parent or something. It's like, this is just fucking gross. This is just disgusting. Yes. This is just wrong. You know, like I don't need any statistics or any data or anything to the otherwise, even though it is backing me up. It's like, this is wrong. When I see a picture of a guy without his shirt off, like he's a mom in like labor, you know, and the other guy who takes his shirt off too, and like both posing next to this child, like faking this whole process of like being a woman or something, like that's fucking gross, man. And I don't want that. I don't want that in my country. I don't want to live next to that. I don't want that near my kids. I don't want that in my neighborhood. I don't want that voting. I don't want that paying taxes. I want it completely shunned, gone, illegal. Get the fuck out of here. You know, this is just ridiculous. Well, and so just so many things in our country are just like this. You just have an open, visceral response to this stuff. No, it's like, no, we're not having a statue of Satan in like the public square. We're not doing that shit. That's not what we are. It's like, well, what's the difference between that and God? It's like, because it's Satan. That's why. Well, I'm not arguing with you. And this is the thing that like I hate so much about like these house conservatives. It's the same thing with like Ilhan Omar just made a speech yesterday saying like Somalis have been here since America's founding and have been integral to America since the very beginning. The response to that isn't like, oh, well, we got to argue and make fun of her about how wrong she is. Like, look how stupid the leftists are. They don't know their own history. It's like, look, motherfucker, that woman's in a position of power and you're not. That woman is importing millions of her co-ethnics into Minneapolis and Minnesota every single year, and they are engaging in fraud to the tone of $250 million in various welfare fraud scams that just came out from like Chris Rufo and other people. The response isn't to argue with this woman. The response is, I'm shipping you on a boat back tomorrow at the point of a gun, and if you don't like it, too fucking bad. That's the response you need to be having to these people. And, you know, this is the problem. It's just nobody knows what time it is. We got Pete Hegseth. The Democrats are openly calling for sedition and insurrection of various military members. And Pete Hegseth's response on Twitter is like, this is what stage 4 TDS looks like. It's like, motherfucker, they just put Bolsonaro in Brazil in prison for 27 years. And that's about to happen to you unless you get serious, man. So.
Yeah, dude, it completely captures to say they just have no idea what time it is. Like,
yeah,
when you literally have illegal immigrants coming in and looting the country and on the benefit of their own group, it's like, what the fuck why do we allow that? I don't understand how these people can look at that and not just be like, why aren't we stopping this like yesterday? Like, the only people that should be able to act in their own interests are Americans in America. Like, you can't have yeah, we were talking about it a little bit earlier about that executing 2 National Guards. Yeah, but that's to the same point. Like, Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck in 4K, and everybody saw that man bleed out on their fucking phone, and we just like moved on like it was nothing.
Yeah,
2 National Guards people got shot, and then like a week after that, there was like a church shooting. Like, people are getting shot left and right, and we're just kind of like,
worse. Yeah, it's only gonna get worse. No, it will not stop until it's forced to stop. And it's like, I don't know if it's that there's just no masculinity left in anybody. I don't know if it's just everyone's been one shot by the civil rights regime and, just school marm, long housing, liberalism, lack of religiosity, lack of care for their own people. I don't know what it is. It could be all of these things, could be none of these things, right? But it's just amazing to me that all the youth are just crying out for someone to cut this Gordian knot, for someone to save this civilization, for someone to have the king return once more, and that we could finally go back to a position of, that shining city on a hill that, Reagan always liked to quote, right? And just everyone thinks that we're just going to get there by, reciting the Constitution and everyone's just going to agree all of a sudden. It's like, no, I'm sorry, but the historical moment you're in calls for something much deeper. I refuse to believe that Stephen Miller doesn't understand this. He's a smart enough guy and he sent the right signal so many times, but I'm sorry, dude. Like, I can't sit and watch you tweet and go on Fox News for the 50th time saying we're dealing with a judicial coup. It's like, dude, you are in control of all three branches of the government. You have the will of the people behind you, the popular vote. Everyone is begging for these things to be done. Just fucking do it. Just do it. The Democrats do this shit every time when they come into office. Every time. And this is the thing that aggravates me so much, is when you're talking to like boomer conservatives, because I really have this big problem too with like all this like conspiracy kind of thinking that is just so popularized with the right now. And this is probably what Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to do now that she's retired. She's going to be white Candace Owens basically, but I digress. But it's so bizarre to me how like the average boomer con just has it in their brain that the Democrats cheated and stole the 2020 election. And in their brains, what that means is, the Democrats literally just went into the voting machines and changed everyone's like ballots and checked off like Biden instead of Trump, right?
Right.
And it's like, they cheated. It's illegal. It's like, okay, how come none of them are in jail? And the reason why none of them aren't in jail is because what they did was actually entirely legal. It was rigging and stealing by any sense of honor and how we normally do things in elections in this country. But what actually happened was, in the 3 months leading up to the election during COVID, they just changed the election laws and made it legal to ballot harvest. Okay. Yep. So that's not illegal in the sense of like, that's cheating. It's like, no, they literally just changed the laws. And it's like, guess what? Trump could do that too. And they just need to have the correct mental mindset to go in and do that. And yes, the media is going to call them Nazis. And yes, the media is going to call them fascists. And they're going to call them dictators. And they're going to call them big, meaty, poopy heads. And it's like, who fucking cares? Do your fucking job, what you were elected to do. And every day they wait, it becomes harder and harder to do. And the consequences are going to stack up, and the bodies are going to continue to pile up until they realize the historical moment that they're in and just do what they were elected to do.
Yeah. Like you said, people are totally crying out for this stuff. And I'm sure if they saw a judge walk away in handcuffs, the same deal with fucking Obama too. I'm sorry to bring it to go to a completely different point, but like they said Obama committed treason. And then nothing happened. Literally no court case, nothing. Tulsi Gabbard said, yeah, we looked it over. Like you said, Pete Hegseth, same deal. Yeah, well, look, stage 4 TDS. Like, you guys are outright admitting that like the Democrats just have no regard for the rules. And you guys are like, oh, look at that. They broke the rules.
Still got to play by them.
Yeah. They're like, all right. Anyways, yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me get this tweet out. Oh, we'll put up a picture of Master Chief and say we're working on deportations, guys. Don't worry, we got this handled. I'm like, just do something. Like I said, if somebody saw one of these justices, if someone saw Jasmine Crockett get carried away in handcuffs, people would be like, all right, I guess they're not fucking around.
Yeah, but exactly. Nope. And this is the problem when you do these like half measures, or what people, colloquially talk about, like fishing in the Rubicon, right? Instead of like crossing it, right? Well, what happens is you just embolden the other side. Like basically all of these, Homeland Security hype videos, which I was being very, very loose with the Trump administration for a long time on this, but now after the Charlie Kirk stuff, when we're like making Pokemon edits and saying gotta deport them all and stuff, I was like, okay, yeah, you know what, this is cool, this is funny, I like it, it's cool. But if you're not actually going to back any of this up, all it does is form this meme in the enemy's minds that the fascism is here and it's already taken over and we have to act now. It turns your enemies into like hyper woke jihadis, basically, and we've seen it. They're like, oh, the fascism is here. I got to shoot National Guard people. I got to shoot conservative influencers. I got to go blow up ICE facilities and everything like this. It's like, dude, if you don't walk away with these people in handcuffs and throw them in jail, it's only going to get worse. And eventually you're going to be in a position where there's just nothing left. It's like, what's going to happen? Like, are they going to throw like an insurrection, like a real one, outside the White House and start shooting at it one day? And then maybe you're going to get a hold of it. I mean, it sounds far fetched, but is it really? If you don't punish these people, you're literally just rewarding their bad behavior.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, I know you and I both had a little bit of a time crunch. I think right there serves as kind of like a good warning for people listening out there. Like, man, we are in dire straits. And especially when you see people just getting dropped left and right, and you see pictures of people just shot in cold fucking blood all over Twitter. I think it's time to wake up and be like, yeah, we got to fix something, or else 2028, it's going to be bad. Like it will be bad if we don't figure something out now.
The people are just crying out for the true American leadership to return. And if it won't be Trump, they will find somebody who will. And it's just, I don't know who is giving them advice. I don't know if it's, they're just scared. I don't know if they're dumb. I don't know if they're corrupt. I don't know what it is, but the solutions are still the same, and it needs to be faced and tackled with, regardless if people are ready for it and regardless if people want it. Not everybody gets to choose the historical moment they live in. It's like that line from Gandalf. It's like, so do all who wish to live in such times. It's not for them to decide. And again, like, this is what's so wild too, is like Trump literally tweets out the Napoleon quote, like, he who saves his country breaks no laws, and then like you don't do anything. it's like, go and do it.
Yeah, like we basically said, it's just like, if you went and even if you broke all the constitutional laws, but like you actually did something productive for Americans, nobody's gonna care. Like, people say, oh, they're not following the Constitution whenever it serves their interests. People literally they don't care about the Constitution.
Yeah, just get Stephen Miller on Fox News literally the next day and have him cite like some ridiculous 1896 ruling by, Judge Joe Schmo or something, and people will just go along with it, man. That's what the Democrats do every time. So it's like, just who cares? Literally just make it up. Just have fucking AI write it. Like it'll serve the same point. Do you think anybody's actually looking up constitutional law like before they do shit like this? It's like, no, nobody fucking cares, man. They just understand. It's so amazing how like the normies understand politics at a more base level than like the people who are allegedly in charge are. It's like, no, I just want my team to win. It's friend and enemy. It's like, I don't care. Justify it with however which way you want to. Do you think like any of the boomers on Fox News who watch this shit like know anything about like how actual politics or any constitutional law is actually conducted? No, it's like, oh, it came out of Mark Levin's mouth, and he showed me a buckskin, piece of paper from the 1700s on the screen. It must be true.
What a fucking joke, dude. All right. Well, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and all that good stuff and what you got going on, man?
Whoops, sorry, cut out there for a second. Yeah, just check me out over. I'm on Twitter now. I passed 15K this week, which is kind of cool. And check out what's going on at the Old Glory Club. You can check out our website. There's our chapters page on there with a big old map of the United States, and people can check where a chapter is in your area, so you can get involved with that, or you can get involved with our various Twitter spaces that we're on with like my good friend Mr. D. I'm there all the time, throughout the week. And just check out the OGC YouTube page, where we've got 3 shows going on each week. American Spirits on Monday, which is kind of like a more American political theory show. Wednesday is our chapter house that takes a look at the various works that all of our OGC chapters are engaging in around the country. And then Thursday is Pony Express Radio, which me and Pete Quinonez host. And it's kind of just a comedy show, with the news of the week sprinkled in.
Yeah, well, it's all awesome stuff. Hawk, as always, I appreciate you hanging out, man. And everybody, thank you so much for listening, and have a great Thanksgiving. Hawk, any other words before we part ways here?
Everyone better make sure to deep fry your turkeys tomorrow. I will hear none of this, propaganda of oven roasting turkeys. No, this is incorrect. You must deep fry in peanut oil for around 45 to 50 minutes. It is the only way to eat your turkey. And yes, so everyone enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving. Eat more than you can handle and love up on your families. All right, everybody. Thanks so much.